RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. This is the pre-Thanksgiving episode of Ask Dave. As always, we are taking all your questions on diet, training, supplementation, what to eat on Thanksgiving, whatever it is on your mind, it is all on the table as we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, a lot going on right now. Of course, NPC Nationals this past weekend. You just spoke to Hunter Labrada. That interview is going to be dropped, I believe, tomorrow or Friday, but this week. So that's something to look forward to. But we have a very big, very special Black Friday sale going on at speciesnutrition.com. I know we're kind of, lips sealed about it right now, but fans can expect something big to drop 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, it's funny. I did an RX rant with Aaron Singerman that's probably up on the site or will be up on the site within the next day. And we talked about where Black Friday came from. And, I hate it and I love it. I like it as a business owner, obviously, because we make money. But I hate it because it's a lot of logistical work. My wife, Amanda, runs all the back end of the company. And, she has to process all those orders. So it's a royal pain in the butt. But people love it, and they love sales, and they love to get deals, and they're getting their holiday money, getting an order, and we're going to be putting out some super big discounts. So guys, you're going to have to act fast, because if you don't, obviously you're gonna miss out on it. You can't call me next week and say I want that same price, because it's a very limited sale. It's going to be a heavily discounted product, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you guys will tune in 11:59 on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. You'll be able to find out what the sale is, and you'll be able to go to speciesnutrition.com and you'll be able to purchase it. I promise you, you'll be happy about it.
Actually, I forgot to mention right now at RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel, an exclusive interview with Neil Hill. Of course, the big announcement over the weekend, Neil Hill announcing that he is, in fact, going to be working with Big Ramy. Dave, you want to just touch on the interview and a couple of things that you spoke about with Neil Hill?
Yeah, after the announcement was made, Flex Lewis actually had contacted me, and we were, just chatting, and, he said, I'm here with Neil, and, would you like to talk to him? I said, yeah, obviously, yeah, definitely. I would like to find out what's going on with Ramy. He's so tight-lipped. Ramy doesn't really do any interviews during the year. The only time we get to really talk to him is at the Olympia. And so we got Neil on, and Neil and I, go way back together, and we have a similar mindset about a lot of things. And so we talked about Ramy, we talked about Bonac a little bit, we talked about some of the athletes he's working with, and what's going to be happening with Ramy, and where can we see him next, and all this stuff. And it looks like Ramy may be doing New York Pro next year. He has to requalify for the Olympia because he didn't place high enough to automatically qualify again. Obviously, the goal is to win the Olympia for them. Obviously, he works with William Bonac, who also would like to win the Olympia. So he's got a bunch of horses in that race, certainly for next year. I know Bonac will be starting off the year with the Arnold Classic, which is another announcement that he did make on the show. So if you want to tune in, guys, I think you'll like the interview. We go through all the different, processes of what went on with Ramy and, why he left Kuwait and all this stuff. So I think that you guys will enjoy it. I enjoyed it while doing it.
Let's go to the questions. The first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, Dave, I hate the new app. When you were at your biggest, incorporating McDonald's, he says, I guess McDonald's Day, at what meal did you have it?
I used to wake up, this is truth be told, I had this theory, I still have the theory, and I luckily was living the lifestyle I can do it, that the most catabolic time of the day is in the morning. Right? When you wake up, we know that. Cortisol levels are highest. As a matter of fact, that's why a lot of bodybuilders wake up with high blood sugars in the morning, because your body releases tons of cortisol in the morning, which raises blood sugar, which is meant to, do that purposely, because when you wake up in the morning, you want to have your blood sugars be elevated in your bloodstream so you can actually perform and you don't feel like you want to go back to sleep. The problem is a lot of people, they elevate too much, because for whatever reason. So my theory was, if you sleep through the morning, okay, you sleep through the catabolic portion of the day where your body's in the most state of breakdown. And if you wake up around noon, you kind of avert any muscle losses. So I would get up around noon. By the time I left the house, it was about 1. So a lot of times I wouldn't eat my first meal for 1 until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And McDonald's would always be my first meal. I'd go right to McDonald's after I got up, whether it be 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'd eat my McDonald's meal, and then, a lot of times I'd wait an hour or so and then go to the gym and train. And that was my pre-workout meal. A lot of times though, I would maybe wait 3 hours, and then like an hour before the gym, I would have a pre-workout shake and then go to the gym and train, and then afterwards have my post-workout shake and then do all the rest of my meals. And I would stay up till like 4 in the morning. So I was still getting my 8-9 hours of sleep. I was just staying up later and getting up later in the day. And that's kind of how I arranged it. Now, Sid, before you get to the next question, I wanted to also mention, a lot of people have always asked us over the years, they want RxMuscle clothing, right? Well, now, because YouTube has this new partnership with Teespring, if you look at the bottom of all our videos on your computer screen, you'll see a store. It's an RxMuscle store, and we have so far I've uploaded 2 logos, the RxMuscle logo and the Heavy Muscle Radio logo, which is a Jerry Beck drawing of Chris Cito and myself. And you can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, cell phone cases, coffee mugs, anything you can think of, you can buy on there, and it's on demand, and I don't have to do anything basically. And you guys get these great shirts. Matter of fact, I went on and ordered a couple shirts myself, just so I would have some of these shirts made up, and I don't have to stock inventory or do anything. So from now on, you can get all the RxMuscle, stuff you want right at the bottom of all the YouTube videos.
Let's go to the second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, what is the role of DHEA in the body? If I'm on TRT, should I include it? What would be the benefits?
DHEA, or dihydroepiandrosterone, is a hormone produced by the adrenal glands in the body. And it has immune system modulating effects. It has some muscle building effects, mostly in women. They say, that it also helps with metabolism regulation. I feel that it's more effective in women, because women don't produce testosterone, obviously. Men have testosterone production from the testicles. In women, the way they build muscle and repair muscle is through adrenal androgen production. So the adrenal glands produce DHEA. Inside the cells, certain amounts of DHEA gets converted to testosterone. And it's a very small amount, but that's what's responsible for muscle growth in women. So when women have a low sex drive, when women maybe feel like they're recovering from workouts, a lot of times I'll tell them to take 25, 50 milligrams of DHEA per day, and they seem to that boost sex drive. It gives them good muscle recovery, and they don't get any side effects from it, because that's something their body produces anyway. And so their body only will convert of the DHEA to testosterone, what it needs. For men, we produce testosterone from the testicles. Now, when my dad hit I think it was about maybe 65, he started complaining that his testosterone felt low. And this is before, you gotta remember, before doctors were prescribing testosterone and stuff like that. And I put him on DHEA about 100 to 200 milligrams a day, because men need to take more. And he felt good. He said he felt it. So he probably needed testosterone replacement, but like I said, they weren't doing that back then. So, but for men in general, DHEA is not going to do a whole lot unless you're really low in testosterone, in which case you should be getting on testosterone replacement. You should be calling TitanMedicalCenter.com, and you should be doing a consult with their doctor online, getting your blood work done, and getting on a hormone replacement regimen, because that, and if you do decide to do that, you can mention that RxMuscle and Dave Palumbo sent you, they'll give you a discount. But that's a better way for men to replace low testosterone. Women, DHEA works great.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, our handle is official_RxMuscle. On that note, right now, Species Nutrition and RxMuscle, we're running a joint giveaway. So if you go to RxMuscle's Instagram page, you'll see the details. We're giving away Isolize and a Species Nutrition sweatshirt to one lucky winner. Check the page for details. Jeff Jebnikar, Dave, I got an umbilical hernia 2 years ago. I'm in prep right now, getting leaner so I can feel the hernia, and it makes me think it's getting bigger. I see many bodybuilders have this kind of hernia. I have zero pain, I wear a belt, and I make sure to breathe. Should I stay away from training abs?
No, I had it for years, the same umbilical hernia. I didn't even know I had it. And then I was looking at a picture one day, I'm like, man, I got an umbilical hernia. And it never affected performance. I lifted super heavy. It never got bigger. It never got, didn't get smaller. And eventually I just cosmetically didn't like the way it looked. So I just went on and I got the surgery. They meshed it up and that was it. It wasn't really, with me, it wasn't like a functional issue. It was a cosmetic thing. And for most people, that's the case. And it sounds like for this person, that's the case as well. It's just a cosmetic thing. If you're not ready to get it fixed and you don't have the money or you don't have the time and you're doing something else, don't worry about it. Just continue. It's not gonna get any bigger. You've probably had it almost your whole life. A lot of times what happens is you have a weakness there, because remember, when you're a baby, that's where the umbilical cord comes out of. And it's supposed to close that hole. And in most people it does, but it still remains open a little bit. And then, from all the bodybuilding, the heavy weightlifting, the tons of food you're eating, which is stretching and pushing your abdominal cavity out, a lot of times it can open up a little bit. And it usually doesn't get any worse than what it is unless you do some kind of traumatic injury to it. So, like I said, it becomes a cosmetic issue more than anything for most people. And so I wouldn't worry about it. Like I said, when you're ready to fix it, you go get it fixed. It's not a big, I think I was only down for 2 or 3 weeks after my surgery, if I remember correctly. It's not a long recovery whatsoever. It's a very superficial operation. Matter of fact, they didn't even put me out completely. They give me what's called twilight. They numb it up and then they just give you a little IV bag. I fell asleep. I don't remember anything, but it wasn't general anesthesia or anything like that.
Let's go to Ivan or Ivan Banyanets. He spelled it out phonetically for me. Do you think progressive overload is an absolute necessity?
I think that you have to challenge the muscle. I think that if you're going to the gym and you're doing the same weight all the time, you're not going to get any bigger or grow. Likewise, I think that if you're doing heavy weight all the time, but you're not really feeling the weight, you're using joints and momentum, you're not going to get anything from it. So it's one of these things where you need to overload the muscle how it feels. So you could take the same weight and make it feel, like it's more if you do drop sets, if you do a superset sometimes, or you can lower the weight a little bit. Instead of always doing 4 to 6 reps, you can do maybe 2 to 4 reps and go heavier to build up to more strength, so that the next time you go to do the weight, you will get 4 reps. So yeah, I think that you constantly have to be challenging the muscle. And if it gets to a point where you're lifting so heavy that it's getting dangerous, then you have to learn to intensify the movement in other ways. Like I said, via drop sets or maybe supersets.
Let's go to Chris F. Dave, what rep range would you say worked best for you when it came to adding size?
4 to 6. I always did 4 to 6 reps. I could use maximum weight, and I found that I grew really well. Under 4, I only did that to maybe get used to the weight. So like when I wanted to deadlift 6 plates on each side, right? And for some reason, I don't know if it was a mental block, I just couldn't do it. And so I had to start out by just doing half reps with it, just to get used to. The weight was so intense on my back that I had to get used to the weight. And then I built up to a half rep, and then I finally got 1 rep out of it. Once I did 1 rep and I became comfortable with going all the way down and coming up with the weight, the next week I did 3 reps with it. And then the week after that I did 5 reps with it. So I built up to it, but I don't believe you're really building muscle when you're doing 1 or 2 rep sets. I think you're just developing strength at that point, and maybe getting used to it, getting your nervous system used to holding that much weight. I think that the 4 to 6 rep range is ideal for maximizing muscle gains, however.
Abed Adawi, why is it that I don't retain water in my midsection and I still have abs, but hold water in my face when I eat higher carbs and sugar? How can I prevent this?
You know what? It's everyone holds fluid and fat in different places in their body, and there's really no reason or rhyme no reason why. Now, if you have very high estrogen, if you're a woman, a lot of times you'll see that weight in your butt, in your thighs, in your hips. In men, usually if your estrogen's a little higher, you'll see it in your back, lower back area. That's usually where people hold weight. Now, if you eat a lot of salt, or you have a meal that's atypical for what you're normally eating, a lot of times you see that immediately in your face. And I don't know why it goes right to your face, but fluid water retention you notice in your face a lot more. And maybe that's just because it's such a visual thing. You're looking at yourself all the time. Your eyes get a little swollen shut, your cheeks get a little fuller, you kind of lose the cheekbone definition. That's normal, with fluid retention. So it's not so much a body fat thing as it is just a fluid retention thing. And like I said, everyone holds their water in different places.
Caleb Grits, Dave, how does what time you train and therefore how many meals you have after have any effect on recovery? Like with my job, I train after 5 p.m. and I have 2 meals post-training, then I go to bed.
I think as long as you're eating something after you train, I would never just do cardio or just do weights and go to sleep after. That's silly. because well, lately I've been doing that myself. I have a huge dinner. I go upstairs. We have a weight. We have like a cable cross-over machine. I'll do a couple sets for arms, and then I don't eat after that usually. But I think my rationalization is that I have so much food in my stomach that hasn't even been digested yet that's my post-workout meal. But truth be told, you want to get at least a meal in or a shake in after you train. You never want to not have protein available to start that repair process going on. That's foolish, if you're trying to maximize gains. Always want to get something in afterwards. Now, whether you do 2 meals or 3 meals or 4 meals, I don't think more is necessarily better. As long as you have something on board when you go to sleep so that your body can utilize that protein to repair muscle, I think you're fine.
Let's go to My Arsenal or Arcano. If you have a 2 muscle split for a workout, let's say back and chest today, for example, and you do one muscle first, let's say back, is it beneficial to do another back exercise after you're done working chest to make sure you get blood fully in the muscle before consuming your whey, since you would have been resting close to 30 minutes while you were working on the other muscle, and in this example, chest?
Well, when you eat your post-workout meal or drink your post-workout shake, whatever, you don't want the blood to be in the muscle. You want the blood to be in your stomach so that you can extract the nutrients from what you're eating, and then that gets distributed to the body parts that require repair. So your body knows what muscles you've damaged, okay? You don't need blood in the muscle for the body to say, oh, okay, that's where we have to go to fix things. No, you want the blood in your stomach digesting the food, absorbing the nutrients from the food, and then carrying those nutrients to the various parts of your body that have been damaged to help repair it. So no, it doesn't matter. Once you do the body part, you're done with it.
Matt Tracy Life, I was trying to find your natural diuretic, but couldn't find it on the site. Are you planning on bringing it back anytime soon? What do you recommend that would have similar effects since I'm almost a week out?
Our Aqualize, natural diuretic, herbal diuretic was very powerful supplement we had. We have a lot of people that love it. The Team Bombshell used to buy cases of it from us. I stopped making it because I had to buy, my minimums were so high that I wasn't selling enough of it, because think about it, people only really use it around contest season time, or if they're going to go on vacation or something like that. It's not something that gets used regularly. So what happens is the expiration dates come up quickly because I have to buy so many of them. So if I can get a limited run, if I can find a company that will run it without me needing to place 3,000 bottles, I might bring it back because it was a very good product. I know a lot of athletes really liked it. I've been telling people to just go to the nutrition store, go online and buy any Uva Ursi based herbal diuretic. Uva Ursi is probably the most powerful natural herbal diuretic that you can get. That a lot of people think it's dandelion, or the B vitamins. I find that Uva Ursi, and I like to combine all of them, but I think Uva Ursi is really the workhorse of getting rid of fluid naturally using an herbal product.
You're watching Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. Reminder, 11:59 p.m. Thursday night, we're going to be releasing our Black Friday sale. We're going to announce it on the website and, of course, our social media. And right now at RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel, exclusive interview with Neil Hill, who this weekend became Big Rami's new coach. Just go to KN, dirty bulk versus clean bulk. Which do you prefer and why?
I think that most of your meals on your bulking diet should be clean. If you have a very good metabolism like I used to have back in the day, I always made one of those meals a little junkier. That was my McDonald's meal I had all the time. I have guys that I work with now that get to eat McDonald's or burger and fry every single day because their metabolism is really good. But if you ask them what their other meals are, they're all clean. They're all clean foods. If you eat junk all day long, you'll invariably undereat how much you eat, because you'll be so full from those meals you won't want to eat 6 times or 8 times a day. So it's important that you eat most of your meals be clean, shakes, clean food, and then maybe once a day, if you have that kind of a metabolism, you can have a junk meal. If you don't have a good metabolism, you get fat real easy. I would keep most of the meals clean, eat a lot more food, but eat clean foods, okay? And then once a week you have your cheat meal. Even if you're eating cheap, clean foods, you might get bored of what you're eating, or you might not say, oh, it's too clean. But you're not going to be hungry or anything like that. You might just be bored with it. And then once again, if you have that cheat meal once a week, that's something you got to look forward to. If you do have a gifted metabolism, you can have some dirtier foods during the day. Just don't make it happen all day long,
Aesthetic with hands. Dave, for a university student dieting for a bodybuilding show, would you still recommend your ketogenic diet? I like the idea of maintaining a consistent blood sugar level, but don't know if my brain will be able to study long hours running on sorely ketones.
Well, I mean, you could test it out. Ketones really make the brain actually function more efficiently. And most people will attest to that. They actually have better focus. They don't get tired. Their blood sugar is not dropping and going up and down. So give it a shot. You might find that you actually study better on a ketogenic diet, you know. And if it doesn't, then what you do is you eat a low carb diet. So you have carbs, you know, throughout the day, just smaller amounts, okay, if that works better. To me, that's going to be worse because you're going to be going up and down in blood sugar. On a ketogenic diet like mine, your blood sugar is consistent because your brain is not using glucose as a fuel source, it's using fats.
Merce Brown, I'm currently on TRT and I've been getting really bad acne on my face, shoulder, back, and arms. They increased my anestazole from 0.5 mg to 1 mg. I'm also taking your Testalize and it seems to help, but I'm still covered in large, painful pimples. Any thoughts on where I should go from here?
Yeah, usually, you know, the anastrozole, which is the aromatase inhibitor, makes acne worse because when you block estrogen production or estrogen conversion, you know, from testosterone, more testosterone is available to convert to DHT. And that's why, and then DHT is obviously the hormone that causes acne and breakouts and stuff like that. So what a lot of people do is they start my Testalize 3 pills twice a day, and that usually solves the problem because it blocks the testosterone to DHT conversion to some degree. It doesn't eliminate it because we don't want to eliminate it completely. Now, 2 things could be going on here. One is that you're not blocking enough DHT, in which case you might need to take more Testalize, or you might need to use something stronger like finasteride. More than likely, you're blocking enough DHT, and you can verify that easily by getting blood work. If your DHT levels are in the low normal range, and you're fine. More than likely, you're overwhelming the system, so to speak. You know, your body is prone to breaking out, and taking anabolic steroids is just making it worse. Not just the DHT factor, but the actual extra oils your body's producing, the toxins in your body that your body has to now get rid of more of because you're eating so much food. That could be the issue as well. I don't know how you clean your face and your oral hygiene, and if you sleep on a clean pillowcase every night. These are also other things you can employ that I used while I was coming up that enabled me to not break out as much. Because when you break out, it means you're prone to breaking out. So you want to take away the causes of why you break out, which is, you know, too much bacteria in your face, which I said you don't want to overwash your face, but you definitely want to keep it clean. You don't want to touch your hands to your face during the day because your hands are dirty, and that's going to make it worse, especially if you're touching that phone all day long. You want to use dial soap on your body to eliminate, you know, the bacteria or the excessive amount of bacteria. It'll cut down that bacterial load. You'll break out less. If all else fails, you may need to go to the dermatologist and get on Accutane. That's a more permanent solution, obviously, but if it's affecting you that badly and you don't look like the way you look at it, it's starting to leave maybe scars on your body, then I would look into that option.
Moline or Muline 90, how would you set up your training schedule a week pre-contest?
You know, I never changed my training schedule pre-contest to off-season. The only thing I would do is I think the last 4 weeks I threw in an extra hamstring day where I would come in and do like some stiff-legged deadlifts, and I would do a couple more sets of maybe leg curls and stuff like that. But by and far, I kept everything the same. Now, if I started getting weaker, okay, in the gym because my body fat was dropping, I would lower the weights a little bit. Maybe I might do some more supersetting and drop setting, because if I normally bench press 405 on an incline and I can only do maybe 315, I might drop the 315 and do an extra down to 135, and I would do a drop set like that to intensify the set at the end. But those are the antics that I usually employed. You know, I didn't go anything crazy. I didn't do extra sets or anything like that. I try to stay the same because you don't want to change your formula. If you got something that helped you build muscle and look big, why would you stop doing that workout and do something else? You risk losing muscle that way.
Let's go to Nate Flex. Dave, what are your favorite books or literature about anabolics?
You know, my Bible back in the day was the Anabolic Reference Guide by Bill Phillips, which is probably, it's an older book. It didn't really have a ton of it. I probably put out more information on this channel on a daily basis than really what you're going to find in that book. But I think the next best thing, the best thing out there right now, at least from a reference book standpoint, is Bill Llewellyn's Anabolics book. I like it so much, I actually sell it at DavePalumbo.com at a discounted price. So if you guys want a really nice reference book, it's not a book you're going to sit and read in one sitting. It's something you're going to look up stuff in, you're going to read periodically. It's a big, thick book, but I would say it's 98% accurate with great information in it. Maybe a couple things I don't necessarily agree with, but I think it's well laid out. Bill did a great job on it. I wouldn't even write a book because I know I couldn't come close to doing that because the time alone that it took him to do that was probably astronomical. So like I said, if you go over to DavePalumbo.com, you can pick up the new Anabolics. We have the new edition on there and check out that book. It's a terrific manual.
Lewis Green, the first, Dave, what are your thoughts on gaining muscle whilst in a deficit, even if it's only a small amount?
It can be done. I see it a lot. I always tell guys when I'm dieting for shows, don't try to build muscle while we're dieting you down because you'll never lose weight. You're never going to lose the body fat. If it happens, it happens. If it happens, it means that your body is just meant to do that. Your body is a muscle building machine. The bottom line is preserving muscle. When you're dieting to get your body in the best shape of your life, you want to maintain what you have muscle-wise and lose the body fat as quickly as possible. And that's really the goal. If for some reason your body decides, hey, the last 6 weeks it's going to put on a couple pounds of muscle, then great for you. But don't try to do it. Once you try to put more food in there to try to gain muscle while you're losing body fat, you accomplish nothing.
Not Dougie, I've previously heard you say that you recommend EOD injections, even with compounds that have a longer half-life. Would you say that this is your belief, even with something like DECA or EQ?
Yeah, I do it with, when I was back in the day doing my cycles, I would do test and EQ, test and DECA cycles, and they would both be done every other day. I would do 200 milligrams of DECA every other day. I would do 200 milligrams of EQ every other day. And I would just, along with the testosterone, which was usually anywhere from 250 to 350 milligrams per injection. And I would just do that, it came out to about, 3-4 times a week. And some weeks it was 3 times, some weeks it was 4 times. And that seemed to provide excellent results for me with the least side effects.
Interesting question here. I mean, it seems like a pretty obvious one, but I guess about you in your competing days, when would you use a spotter?
In my heyday, when I was really lifting really heavy, I had a training partner every single time I went to the gym. I never lifted alone because I was too scared. I would never push myself enough if I didn't have that training partner there. So for a couple of years, I had a very consistent training partner. Trained with a guy by the name of Doug Wentz for several years. I trained with another guy by the name of Tony Campagna for a couple of years. And I had my friend Vinny Hanzik I used to train legs with once a week, because he was the only one I could trust who can spot me squatting 700 pounds. And, I had my people that I trained with on a regular basis that I trusted. When I got under that weight, it was like a religion. I knew those guys had my back and vice versa. I had theirs when they were lifting. So I knew I would, and knock on wood, I never got hurt in the gym. Very rarely, maybe once in a while I tweaked something, but never got seriously hurt because I had great training partners and I wasn't afraid to push heavy weights because I knew they were there. The only times, once in a blue moon, you go on vacation and you're in a gym and you got to ask some local yokel to spot you. It's scary because I'm like, you know what? This guy is gonna, if I get hurt because of him, I'm gonna be pissed. So a lot of times what I would do is I would just lighten the weight up a little bit so that I wouldn't, if I knew I could handle the weight no matter what. It sucks, but you know what? The best thing you can do, and I can recommend this, is find someone. They don't have to be as strong as you, and they don't have to be as good as you in the gym, although it's always nice to work out with someone who's better than you because that pushes you more. But you need someone who's reliable, who's going to show up at the workout every week and who can spot you and handle the weight you use. If you get that, there's nothing like it. You're going to have the best workouts of your life.
Love this name, Tractus Iliadis Bialis. When you say 16 weeks on, 8 weeks off, do you count the 3-4 weeks on Clomid as, quote, off time?
Yeah, I guess technically I do. So if, let's say you're going off 9 weeks and you're going to be on HCG for 2 weeks and Clomid for 2 weeks, that's part of the whole process. So once you get through those 4 weeks, you still have another 4 or 5 weeks off on nothing. Yes, I do count that because even though your body is being coaxed into producing more of its own testosterone, it's still your own testosterone. It's still a natural release, of your own stuff. You're not taking an exogenous source, so there's no toxicity going on in your body. Your body's still cleaning itself out, And so it's sufficient. You don't have to do the PCT for 4 weeks and then do another 8 weeks. Although you can if you want. Some guys like to go off for 12 weeks every year. It's completely up to the person's individual. But I think 9 weeks off total while on even HCG and Clomid is more than enough.
You know, I'm actually a little surprised. We have never gotten this question before, or at least I don't recall us having ever gotten this question before. Mr. Hussein 12, what does RxMuscle stand for? I guess he means the RX and RxMuscle. And why did you choose this name? I don't know if you've ever actually addressed that before.
I might have, but I didn't actually pick this name. I had a guy who contacted me back, and I believe it was 2000, 2001, and he said, I want to start this magazine. This was a paper magazine called RxMuscle. He's like, I even have the website URL, RxMuscle.com. And remember, at the time, websites were not super, great. It was a horrible website he had developed. I think he spent a lot of money, and it was just not well done. And so I started working with him. He had hired like Craig Titus, and he was paying Craig a lot of money, and Craig wasn't doing anything. And then he hired me. He said, he wanted to hire me as a writer. I said, why don't you hire me to actually run the magazine? I said, I'd like to run the magazine and get the writers to submit to me, and then I'll edit the articles because I have a good background. My dad was an English teacher. I'm good at editing. And so I started doing all this, and then I even got the website up and running, and then he just didn't want to do it anymore because it was a lot of money he was spending, and because he was paying athletes like a dummy. I was the only one not getting paid. So he felt bad that he hadn't paid me anything. So he's like, look, Dave, I'm going to close this thing down. If you want, I'll give it to you. So he gave it to me. And RX was originally supposed to stand for, RX is the prescription sign for prescription. So the original slogan was RxMuscle, your prescription for hardcore muscle. That was the slogan that we used. And it was basically our drug. It was going to be like a drug magazine, like really talk about steroids and stuff like that. And which is a lot of what I do anyway, and what we did initially in the early parts of the, if you guys have seen any of the paper magazines, we still have a couple of back issues for sale on DavePalumbo.com. But there were some great articles. Greg Kovacs wrote an article in there. Chris Clark, the inventor of synthesized pump and pose, wrote an article in there. I had the late, what's his name? Chris Confessori wrote an article in there. Jimmy Quinn wrote an article. I had a good staff of people writing for that magazine. Brian Cunningham, my friend, who we just interviewed the other day, wrote an article in there. And that's how it started. And then what happened was Steve Bleckman hired me to run muscular development. And so I kind of put RxMuscle on the back burner. I stopped doing it because it was a conflict of interest. He had the magazine. I worked on the magazine. I was working with John Romano. We created the website. And then when we got fired in 2009 and I left, I didn't know what to do. I said, well, you know what? Maybe I'll resurrect the RxMuscle name. I had the URL already. It was kind of short. It was catchy. And that's what happened. I just started it up again. We revamped the whole entire website, made it like, how I wanted it to be, user friendly, up to modern standards, and we built a database for the contest pictures and everything like that. And that's where RxMuscle, came from, really. It was a magazine first, and then it went to the web presence. And I was going to go back. People wanted me to go back to the magazine, and I said, you know what? I don't see any future in magazines. And I was right, obviously, because there's no magazines left.
One more question, Morris Muscle. Does a bodybuilder on PEDs require more protein than naturals? I know we've addressed it in a couple of different ways, but I guess to answer it directly.
Right. To answer the question, I would have to say maybe. Okay. Now, why I say maybe is that when I work with natural bodybuilders, I give them an overabundance of protein to make sure they're getting enough so they can repair and build muscle. When you add anabolic steroids into the mix, okay, with an athlete that I'm working with already, they're already eating adequate amounts of protein. So when you add steroids into the mix, things just work better. So there's really no need for more food, except if you gain weight. What happens, what people don't realize is if you gain 10 pounds of weight or even 10 pounds of muscle, you need to eat more food now if you want to continue to grow. So, a lot of times what happens is you take anabolics and all of a sudden you gain 10, 15 pounds in the first 4 weeks, and then you're going to increase food because you're not growing anymore. You're doing that because you've added muscle. So the steroids don't necessarily make you need to want to take in more protein. You don't need more protein, but you might need to take it just because you're adding muscle at a much more accelerated rate. But to start, bottom baseline, if you're eating enough protein, taking steroids shouldn't require more protein intake.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, a reminder, 11:59 p.m. Thanksgiving night, Thursday night, we're going to be announcing our Species Black Friday sale. It's going to be live on the website as well as on our social media. That and right now at RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel, our exclusive interview with Neil Hill, the new coach of Big Ramy. On behalf of the entire RxMuscle team, Tyler Shore, Dave Palumbo, Amanda, Butch, Corey, everyone involved, we wish you a happy, whatever you want to call it, Thanksgiving. Dave, if you want to add anything to that, hope you have a safe one. Hope you enjoy time with friends and family. And of course, keep those less fortunate in mind as well. Dave, if you want to add a thought to that.
Yeah, you know, Thanksgiving is a great time of the year because it's a non-religious holiday in this country, so everyone celebrates it. It's an American holiday, and I think it's even extending out to other countries at this point. But it's a time to sit down with your family, think about what's going on the whole year, kind of recoup, catch your breath a little bit, and say, you know what, I got a one-day break here. Let me appreciate everything around me, everything I have. Don't think about what you don't have and what's going wrong with your life. Just think about what you do have and appreciate that for one day. And you know what? That sets the tone and kind of recharges you and resets you. And when you get back to work the next day, you just feel a little better. And that's what it's about. It shouldn't be a depressing day. It should be a day of appreciating what you have.
Amen. So again, enjoy your Thanksgiving. We will see you next week.